Welcome back to the third and the final session of postcolonial literature. We stopped last time on the slides, postcolonial literature and the contemporary issues. So, postcolonial literature remains urgently relevant in the 21st century, addressing issues that continue to shape our globalized world, while formal political colonialism has largely ended. Its legacies persist in new colonial economic relationships, cultural imperialism, migration patterns, and ongoing struggles for social justice. Let me show you how postcolonial perspectives illuminate contemporary issues you encounter in today's news and politics. New colonialism and globalization. Contemporary political literature examines how economic globalization and the multinational corporations perpetuate colonial style exploration. Writers explore how structural adjustments, programs, debt, and unequal trade relationships maintain global hierarchies established during colonialism. Former colonies still primarily export raw materials to developed countries and import expensive manufactured goods. The same economic relationships that existed under colonialism, just without formal political control. Now let's go to migration and diaspora. Massive global migration flows create new diasporic communities navigating questions of identity, belonging, and home. Post-colonial writers explore the experiences of immigrants and refugees caught between cultures dealing with racism in Western nations while maintaining connections to ancestral homelands. They cannot fully return home. Too much has changed. They've changed too much, but they can't fully belong to their new countries either. Racism, cultural differences, and their own memories prevent complete integration. Now let's move to cultural hybridity. Globalization produces increasingly hybrid cultures forms from music to fashion to food. Post-colonial literature explores how people create identity that draw on multiple cultural traditions, challenging simplistic notions of cultural purity or authority or authenticity. But hybridity can also raise difficult questions. Its culture is change or culture appropriation, whose profits from hybrid forms do marginalized communities benefit when their culture practices become globally popular, or are they exploited? Post-colonial literature grapples with these complexities without offering easy answers. Now let's go to feminist and queer perspectives. Contemporary post-colonial criticism increasingly incorporates feminist and queer theory, examining how colonialism shaped gender relations and sexual norms. Writers explore the intersection of colonial patriarchal and heteronormative oppression, revealing how multiple systems of domination reinforce each other. Colonial discourse often feminized colonized men as weak and passive, justifying European masculine domination. Colonial powers sometimes disrupted endangered gender systems that were more fluid or egalitarian than European gender norms. Homophobia was sometimes imposed through colonialism. Colonial laws criminalized same-sex relationships in society that previously accepted them. Indigenous rights and the environmental justice. Indigenous peoples worldwide continues to resist settler colonialism and fight for land rights, cultural survival, and environmental protection. Postcolonial literature amplifies indigenous voices and connects colonial histories to contemporary struggles for environmental justice and sovereignty. Indigenous people often stand on the front lines of environmental protection, defending forests against logging, waters against pollution, lands against mining, because their cultures and survival are directly tied to these lands. By addressing these contemporary issues through the lens of colonial history, postcolonial literature helps us understand how past and the present remain entangled. It provides frameworks for analyzing ongoing injustice and imagining more equitable futures. When we see refugees risking their lives to reach Europe, post-colonial perspectives reminds us that European wealth was built partly through colonial exploitation of the regions that these refugees flee from. When we see economic inequality between global North and South, post-colonial analysis um, reveals how colonial extraction of resources and establishment of unequal trade patterns created these parties. When we see cultural appropriation debates, postcolonial theory helps us think critically about power dynamics in cultural exchange. Now let's move to train challenges and critics of post-colonial theory. While Postcolonial theory has transformed literary studies and provides powerful tools for understanding colonial legacies, it has also faced significant challenges, and critics engaging with these debates strengthen rather than weakens postcolonial scholarship, pushing the field to become more nuanced and self-reflexive. This is important. No theoretical framework is perfect or complete. All theories have limitations, blind spots, problems. Good scholarship means acknowledging these limitations and working to address them. The fact that postcolonial scholars engage seriously with critics of their own field shows intellectual honesty and rigor. Let me explain the major challenges and debates. Essentialism debates. Critics argue that postcolonial theory sometimes risks essentializing the colonized or third world as homogeneous categories experienced across colonized regions. There is a tension between highlighting shared experiences of colonialism and respecting the specificity of different contexts, which recognizes that colorism operates differently in different places and affected people differently based on their social positions. Good postcolonial scholarships try to balance these concerns, acknowledging commodities while remaining attentive to differences, avoiding reductive generalization. Now let's move to the postcolonial label. The term Postcolonial itself is contested. Does it suggest colonialism is over when many argue it continues in new forms? Does it risk creating a permanent identity based on victimhood? Should we use terms like decolonial instead of emphasize ongoing resistance? Some scholars, particularly in Latin America, prefer decolonial studies because this term emphasizes active resistance and decolonization as an ongoing project, not sometimes completed or not something completed. Post-colonial might sound passive, where in the period after colonialism. Decolonial sounds active. We're actively working to decolonialize systems, minds, and cultures. Now let's move to elite academic discourse. Some critics note that postcolonial theory is often written in highly academic language, accessible primarily to Western educated scholars, potentially excluding the communities it aims to represent. There are questions about who benefits from postcolonial scholarship and whether it creates its own forms of exclusion. Does or do the subaltern people being studied benefit, or do primarily Western integrated intellectual benefits, building careers, gaining prestige, traveling to conferences, getting academic positions at elite universities? Now let's move to complexity of colonial identities. So additional critics focus on the complexity of identity in post-colonial contexts. Colonial encounters created multiple overlapping identities that do not fit neatly into colonized binaries. What about settler colonialism, where colonizers become indigenous? How do we understand the communities with complex relationships to both colonization and indigen indigeneity? Mixed race people who are descended from both colonizers and colonized, people who benefited from some aspects of colonialism while being oppressed by others like light-skinned elite in the colonies who gained some advantages from collaborating with colonizers, but were still ultimately subordinate to Europeans. How do we understand their positions? Now let's go to evolution and refinement. Scholars continue to refine post-colonial theory in response to their critics. Contemporary post-colonial studies increasingly emphasizes intersectionality, recognizing how colonial power intersects with other forms of oppression based on race, gender, sexuality, class, and disability. The field evolves in a globalized world where colonial legacies interact with new forms of power and resistance. Digital technology, global migration, climate change, new form of authenticism, all these contemporary phenomena need to be understood partly through colonial legacies while also organizing genuinely new dynamics. Now let's go to summary why study postcolonial literature. Then, after exploring the landscape of postcolonial literature, its historical contexts, theoretical frameworks, major writers, and contemporary relevance, we return to a fundamental question: why does this literature matter? Why should students invest time and energy in engaging with these texts and theories? This isn't just an academic question. You're busy. You have many demands on your time. You could study many different things. So why this? Let me give you six compelling reasons, but ultimately the deeper answer is about what kind of person you want to be and what kind of world you want to help create. Now let's move to the six reasons to study postcolonial literature. So, the first one, its historical understanding provides insight into histories and the cultures marginalized by colonial narratives. New perspectives opens up new ways of seeing and understanding the world. Self-examination challenges us to examine our own assumptions and privileges. Critical thinking encourages critical thinking about power, identity, and representation, empathy, foster empathy and understanding of global culture diversity, contemporary issues, equips students to engage with contemporary social and political issues. Immigration, racism, cultural appropriation, global inequality, environmental justice, post-colonial perspectives help you understand these issues more deeply by revealing their historical roots and global dimensions. Now let's move to why this matter or why this matters. So post-colonial literature matters because it challenges us to see beyond the dominant narratives that have shaped our understanding of history, culture, and human relationships. It reveals the violence and erasures of colonialism while celebrating the creativity, resilience, and the resistance of colonized peoples. By studying their texts, we learn to question whose stories are told, whose voices are heard, and whose perspectives are valued. We develop critical consciousness, awareness that all narratives come from particular perspectives shaped by particular interests, that supposedly objective or universal knowledge is actually a positioned knowledge. Now let's move to why this matters as well. In an increasingly interconnected world still grappling with colonial legacies, post-colonial literature provides essential tools for understanding contemporary issues from migration to climate justice to cultural globalization. It teaches us that literature is never just entertainment or ethic or aesthetic experience. It's a site of political struggle, um, cultural negotiation, and identity formation. Literature has power to shape how we see the world, what we value, who we emphasize with. Now let's go to why this matter, part three. Most importantly, post-colonial literature expands our moral imagination. It asks us to emphasize with experience, vastly different from our own, to recognize our own complexity in going injustice, and to imagine more equitable, respectful ways of living together across difference. This is not merely academic exercise, it is preparation for engaged ethical citizenship in a diverse world. These are skills and perspectives you will use throughout your life, regardless of your career. Suggested further reading and resources. To deepen your understanding of postcolonial literature and theory, we recommend the following foundational texts and resources. This list represents starting points for further exploration, postcolonial studies in a vast field with rich scholarly traditions across multiple disciplines. Foundational theoretical texts. Edward Said, Orientalism, 1978. The text that launched the postcolonial studies as a field. Francis Fanon, The Reaching of the Earth. Essential analysis of colonialism, postcolonial effects. Guthrie, uh, Chakravorty, Spavak, Can the Subaltern Speak, 1988, crucial essay on marginalized voices, Homi K. Papa, The Location of Culture, 1994, key concepts um, of hybridity and mimicry. Baba's writing style is changing, influenced by post-structuralism, but his concepts have become central to postcolonial studies. Now let's move to comprehensive guides. Bill Ashcroft, Gareth Griffith, and Helen Tiffin. The Empire Writes Back, 1989, full foundational overview of postcolonial literature. Anya Lomba, Colonialism, Postcolonialism, 1998, for accessible introduction to key concepts. Leila Gandhi, Postcolonial Theory, A Critical Introduction, 1994, for clear senses of major debates. Gandhi presents different theoretical positions, explain the debates between theorists and Straight's postcolonial theory in relation to other critical approaches, helpful for understanding the field's intellectual landscape. Now let's move to online resources, postcolonial studies in memory for comprehensive website with essays, biographic biographies, and teaching resources. The post the postcolonial web for extensive hypertext resource on postcolonial literature and theory. Journal of Postcolonial Writing, leading academic journal in the field. Postcolonial Text Open Class or Open Access online journey featuring cutting edge scholarship. This is completely free, no subscription required. It publishes scholarly articles, but also creative writing, interviews, and reviews, good for seeing how the field is evolving. Now let's go to the primary literary texts to explore. Tuna Ashby, Things Fall Apart. Jane Press, Wild Sargasso Sea. Salman Rushdie, Midnight Children. Nigig Wa Thiongs. A gain or a grain of weight. Um, Arundhati Roy, The God of Small Things. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, Half of the Yellow Sun, or of a Yellow Sun. Tisti Dangarambaga, Nervous Conditions. Zimbabwean novel about young women navigating colonial education and traditional culture, explores gender and colonialism intersecting. I recommend reading several of these to see the diversity of postcolonial literature, different regions, time periods, styles, and concerns. Now let's move to the conclusion, embracing postcolonial voices. As we conclude this exploration of postcolonial literature, we recognize that this is not an ending but an invitation to ongoing engagement. Postcolonial literature invites us to listen to stories beyond empire, stories that have been suppressed, marginalized, or distorted by colonial narratives, but that persist with remarkable resilience and creativity. These are stories that dominate discourse, try to silence, but couldn't erase. They survived in oral traditions, in community memories, in everyday practice of resistance. Now they are being written, published, taught, reaching global audiences. Now let's move to what postcolonial literature does. These literary works challenge us to rethink fundamental assumptions about history, culture, and identity. They refuse simple narratives of progress or civilization, instead revealing the violence, complexity, and ongoing legacies of colonial uh, encounters through the voices of writers like Archibald, Rushdie, Rice, and countless others. We gain access to experience and perspective that expand our understanding of what it means to be human in a world shaped by empire. These aren't abstract political arguments. They are stories about real people navigating real challenges, or real people navigating real challenges, full of complexity, contradictions, pain, and hope. They make visible the humility and the humanity that colonial discourse tried to erase. Now let's go to listen deeply, engage. The four commitments. Listen deeply, engage with postcolonial voices with openness and humility, recognizing what we do not know, question constantly, apply critical thinking to all narratives, including our own assumptions and privileges, build connections, recognize how colonial histories connect to contemporary issues we face today, move forward, use insights from postcolonial literature to imagine and create more just futures. Do not just learn about colonial injustice and feel guilty or hopeless. Use this language to imagine better ways of organizing our world, treating each other distributing resources, respecting differences, and then work to create those better future through or better futures through whatever means available to you, your career, your relationships, your civic participation, your creative work. All students engaging with postcolonial literature, you are participating in crucial intellectual and political projects. You are learning to read critically, to recognize power dynamics in cultural productions, and to appreciate the diversity and creativity of human expression across cultures. These skills expand far beyond to the classical. They prepare you for engaged citizenship in a diverse, interconnected world still grappling with colonial legacies. So, whether you become a teacher, doctor, business person, artist, politician, or anything else, these perspectives and skills will shape how you approach your work and life. You will be better able to work across cultural differences, to understand people from backgrounds different from yours, to recognize and challenge injustice, to imagine alternatives to unjust systems. These are essential skills for the 21st century. Continuing the journey, let me continue exploring these powerful narratives that shape our understanding of the world. Let us honor the writers who have used literature as a tool of resistance and reclamation, and let us commit to being thoughtful, critical readers who recognize that every story told is also a story untold. Every voice heard implies voices silenced, and every text we study invites us to ask, what else? Who else? What other stories might we need to hear. This is a practice of critical reading, always asking what is missing, whose perspectives are excluded, what alternative stories might exist, not to dismiss the texts we're reading, but to read them more fully, contextualizing them, understanding their limitations as well as their insights. Now let's move to the last two slides. Your journey, the final invitation. I mean, the journey with postcolonial literature has only just begun. The voices await. Are you ready to listen? This isn't just a rhetorical question. I am genuinely asking, are you ready to engage with perspectives that may challenge you, disturb you, change how you understand the world? Are you ready to set aside comfortable narratives and grapple with complexity? Are you ready to examine your own privileges and complexity? Are you ready to imagine different ways of organizing your world? So, with all being said, thank you for engaging with this material. Thank you for being open to these challenges perspectives. I hope you will continue exploring postcolonial literature, that you will let it change how you see the world, and that you will use what you've learned to work toward more just, equitable, and respectful ways of living together in our diverse world. This concludes our exploration of postcolonial literature. I hope these sessions have given you both knowledge and inspiration, knowledge about colonial history, postcolonial theory, and major writers and texts, and inspiration to continue learning, to read widely, to think critically, and to work for justice. Remember, literature has power. Stories shape how we understand ourselves and others, how we imagine what is possible, what we value and fight for. Possible literature uses that power to challenge injustice, to reclaim silenced voices, to imagine better futures. You now have tools to engage with the literature critically and thoughtfully. Use them. Keep reading, keep questioning, keep connecting what you learn to the world around you. And the most importantly, keep listening to voices that have been marginalized, knowing that they have essential perspectives on your shared history and our common future. Thank you for your attention throughout these three sessions. The journey continues from here. Enjoy it.